year in stolen bases. Now the two Bichette and Biggio, they came up in the second half. They didn't run in April, but they were 21st in the second half stolen bases. Took a while to get going. 24th in August and 18th in September. But let's not remember, this is not a running philosophy here. And of course, when you take a look at the Milwaukee Brewers, when they lost their pitching coach, Derek Johnson, okay? When they hired Derek Johnson in 2015, the Brewers were 24th in ERA. Then they went, with the help of Derek Johnson, they were in 13th, then 9th, then 5th, and then when they lost him, they went back up to 16th in ERA with basically the same pitchers, okay? As I said, Steamer has projected Giancarlo Stanton to hit 50 home runs. In the history of baseball, players aged 30 or over have hit 40 or more home runs 139 times, but not any one of them has missed all or substantially all more than 100 plate appearances, who've had less than 100 plate appearances. Not anyone who has missed or only had 100 plate appearances the year before have hit 40 home runs. Unbelievable. As we're looking at the Pirates, Starling Marte, who is now, and we have to thank Madison Bumgarner. What does Madison Bumgarner have to do with Starling Marte? Madison Bumgarner signed a very team-friendly contract. And Starling Marte, who I picked up in our draft, our slow draft on the auction format that I still can't figure out how to work, but he has that's right, he's played 5 times in Chase Field, and he's got 10 doubles, a home run, and a .403 batting average. Okay? What I don't understand is how Major League Baseball can be stupid enough to spend last couple of years saying they want to speed up the game, and then they're adding adding the pitchers. They're adding the DH. The pitchers in the National League in 2019 hit 131. The number 9 hitters in the American League hit 224. But it's 244 home runs for the DH guys, 25 home runs for the pitchers. Okay? Now, I talked about the no doubt home runs that were hit last year. Jorge Soler hit 30 no doubt home runs. Mike Trout 28, Acuna 27. No doubt home runs. Josh Donaldson has the third most home runs among third basemen since 2015, with 156. He's done that in 633 games. Both of the players ahead of him, Arenado and Machado, by the way, have played more than 150 games than Donaldson has played. Okay, so that's pretty good. And away we go. I got to tell you, I have talked about this many times. Teams that go through one-run games usually reverse the following year. So the teams with the lowest one-loss percentage in games decided by one run, the Orioles, I don't know how much they'll pick up. The Marlins are looking for a good. The Cubs were 19-27, and Cincinnati was 24-33. Two of the lowest, they're both in the top 5. They are 4th and 5th in won-and-loss percentage in games decided by one run. I think they're both, so I'm not looking for the Cubs to fall down as much as people think, right? Just not looking for it. Unbelievable. There's a little thing about, who do you like more, Kyle Hendricks or Mike Soroka? Sorotka's going over 50 picks more than Kyle Hendricks. Sorotka's had a 2.68 ERA. He's on his way up. Hendricks 3.46. Yeah, would you take? I would take Soroka way above. Okay. As far as the Cleveland Indians are concerned, they had an ERA under 4 for the 7th straight year. Don't count them out with Bieber and Clevenger in there. I'm not counting out anybody. And good morning to you all. Just let me say. Let me check in with the Amazons. Nice to see you, Amazons. You got the lovely and talented Arnie is here. So, White Sox Gal and Zelmo, thank you. Lenny Melnick, Fantasy Sports Draft Guide. Let me tell you, I am so proud of Andy and what you have done. I tell you what, it's one of my proudest moments. This lady worked on this draft guide. Unbelievable. Arnie's coming up next. She's going to rank and tier shortstops. So be careful. What I said just now, Arnie, make sure that you include the categories as part of the rankings. But if you didn't, I love you anyway. Okay, so moving right along. Moving right along. Yeah, by the way, keep thinking. Look, the remarkable part of 2019 for Cleveland was how the pitching staff dealt with adversity. I mean, Kluber had a 5.80 ERA, was 2-3 with a fractured pitching arm. Remember, and Carrasco hit hard and then diagnosed with leukemia. And then Trevor Bauer was traded at the end of July. I mean, suppose you were told at the start of the season that Kluber, Carrasco, and Bauer would be 17-18 with a 4.5 ERA and 43 starts. You would have thought that their year was a disaster, right? But it wasn't. So sometimes we just don't know how it's going to work out. Sometimes we just don't know. We really don't know how it's going to work out. It's pretty unbelievable on how it's going to work out. I just wanted to say, Mookie Betts. Will Mookie Betts be traded? Will Mookie Betts be traded? An argument could be made about how the Dodgers are capable of reaching the World Series without Mookie Betts because their lineup still looks like it's the best in the National League and by a wide margin. But if anything, the league's relative weakness should provide the Dodgers with a greater incentive to fortify their roster. So if the Dodgers trade for Betts, there's a danger that he will sign with another team next year. And he figures to be in line for a contract similar to what Mike Trout. He's not going to get a Mike Trout contract. He's going to have a great year. So regardless of whether the Dodgers acquire Betts in the opening days of the season, it's entirely possible that another team will offer the Red Sox prospects who could be franchise cornerstones. The Dodgers are not doing that. As of this situation, the Dodgers can resolve by opening their bank vault. Okay, they're a big market team. At the winter meetings in December, Davey Roberts said that he expected more roster turnover this season than any of his previous years. And with 2 weeks remaining until pitchers and catchers, or 1 week remaining, the Dodgers have been very quiet. Okay, very quiet. The club missed out. They went after Garrett Cole. They went after Josh Donaldson. They went after, they did sign Blake Trinan, Alex Wood, and Jimmy Nelson. Low risk, high reward transactions. None of them really guaranteed to move the needle, but I think Tryon may be a very important part. Now, Betts is not the only option that the Dodgers have. They could actually go for Chris Bryant, who lost his service time grievance. Trade talks for Bryant actually began, and they went into a holding situation before the decision was made. The Dodgers were also interested in Francisco Lindor and starting pitcher Mike Clevenger. So don't think that this Mookie Betts thing, I mean, let's remember, and this is nothing that you're going to be surprised about. The month of February is hell for talk shows. All right? The original name of Pearl Jam was Mookie Blaylock, the guard from Oklahoma. Right? Unbelievable. Yeah, so it's very interesting to see, get an idea of what's going to happen. Right now, anything to spice it up. Look, Mookie Betts has been an all-star for the last 4 years. No question about it. So why would Boston trade him in his prime? The Red Sox are intent on reducing payroll. They've got to move under the competitive balance tax threshold, and paying the luxury tax for the last 2 seasons has really hurt. Really hurt. So he'll make $27 million this season, and his impending free agency just makes it that it's going to happen. And, of course, if the Dodgers offered Gavin Lux and Dustin May, the Dodgers could also take David Price from the Red Sox. That's part of it. I don't see any way that the Will Myers thing is going to happen. I don't see any way the Will Myers thing is going to happen. All right, let's continue on, and we'll talk about the Minnesota Twins today in just a few minutes, okay? I want to talk about one other thing, actually a couple other things, and then we'll get to the Minnesota. But so we may be a little over today, Arnie. For the things I want to talk about that are very important, you have Cincinnati. Well, first of all, Marco Gonzalez signed, and since joining the Mariners, Marco's been a model of consistency. He's ranked among the most productive starting pitchers in the American League. He had a 16-13 record with a .399. Career-high 34 starts and over 200 innings. He struck out 147, not that great, walked 56, and tied for the most starts in the American League. So when you're looking for your American League only, don't forget he's the guy. But here's the disturbing part. Eugenio Suarez, his shoulder injury could have a big implication on the upcoming season. The timeline for Suarez's shoulder is not even clear yet, but he's got to start his rehab. He had surgery just recently to remove 2 loose cartilage in his right shoulder. He injured it recently in a swimming pool. So the Reds announced he'll be limited at the start of spring training, and the club expects him to be ready. And at this stage, Cincinnati has to prepare to open the 2020 season with Suarez on the 10-day injured list. The Reds knew he needed shoulder surgery when they finally, after they finalized their contract with Castellanos. Okay? So, versatility, they have plenty of it. In Suarez's absence, Mike Moustakas is the leader to move to third base. That's his natural position. Nick Senzel is not expected to be a candidate to play third base. Okay? They're looking, Freddie Galvis will be the everyday shortstop, Joey Votto at third base. They're going to move Moustakas to third, and Senzel is not an option. He may be an option to play second base. Kyle Farmer could wind up getting some second base. Alex Blandino, Van Meter could play second base. So don't expect Suarez to open up. And, with all 4 National League contenders allowing their third baseman to depart, Chris Bryant and Nolan Arenado will be talked about every single day. Every day. On every talk show, baseball talk show in the country. Guaranteed. All right, speaking of guarantees, let's go to the Minnesota Twins, a team that is 91.5 on Minnesota. And you got to take the position. Anytime you're looking at under over, you got to look at the other teams in the division, okay? Other teams in the division. 91.5 with the White Sox on the upswing. Detroit, Cleveland, we just don't know if they're going to continue their push to be competitive. For Minnesota, Josh Donaldson, his $21 million salary, that brings the Twins to a projected opening day payroll of about $137 million, 15% increase. So that's what they did. So, and I'll tell you what, they added a couple of minor league players. They did a lot of things. Rocco Baldelli will keep a 4th outfielder, either Jake Cave, Lamont Wade, or a rookie like Trevor Larnach or Luke Raley. None of them will be fantasy relevant at all. But there's a fantasy relevant pitcher that I want you to pay attention to. And his name, Well, Lewis Thorpe will battle for a spot. Devin Smeltzer could be in there. But this kid, Randy Dobnak, keep an eye on Dobnak.